I would take an approval of the regular agenda.
Move. Second.
There's been motion by Rick, seconded by Sean to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And we should note that Councilmember Wolf is absent tonight. Consent agenda. If everybody's had a chance to look at that in their packets, I would entertain a motion to accept that.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion by Maggie, seconded by Rick to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 4, Mr. Cavett, you are up.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. If you've looked through the agenda item, you'll see that this is basically a repeat or a rerun of the agenda item I had for last month. This was due to a relatively minor clerical error, but just kind of the ripple effect that it has on the assessment process. So just to explain a little bit what happened is on the assessment roll, the very bottom line's total, there was a formula error that was summarized, the subtotals and totals, and that total was wrong. All the individual assessments were correct, all those formulas were correct, but the resolution that you approved, the hearing notices that went out, and the hearing notices that were published reported a incorrect declared cost to be assessed. While this seems like a relatively minor item that should be relatively easy to adjust, in consultation with the city attorney, he's recommended that it's just within our best interest to make sure every I is dotted, every T is crossed, and that we just, if we have the ability to start over, that we just start over, which is exactly what we're essentially proposing here tonight. With that, well, there is a correction in your agenda report in that we late last week when we were kind of scrambling on how to handle this, we thought we were able to stick with the same assessment hearing date, and meet all the notification timeline requirements, and that's not correct. We actually need to look at, we're recommending a special meeting the week of the 25th. Rather than the next council meeting, and the reason we say that is because if there's any action that maybe needs to be taken on the assessment roll on that night, that it gives us 1 week to bring back a recommendation to council, and so that it can be acted on. There's, if it's held the week of the 25th, there's a 30-day period where people can either object to the assessments, file an appeal, and they have a 30-day window to do that. Or if there's anything that needs to get pulled, which again, we rarely have ever had to do, but if anything needed to get pulled and reviewed by staff, we can again bring it back to the next council meeting, which would be the first meeting of November. And the reason we say that is because typically the counties look at getting the assessments certified to them about middle of November. Again, with the original 18th day, October 18th date, and 30-day window, that again puts the certifying the assessments in middle of November. Typically, cities are filing the certifying assessments after that, but it definitely needs to be done in relatively early in December. This is how that process works. So I know this maybe sounds confusing. Hopefully. Again, the key is I think we're looking at recommending a special meeting on the week of the 25th for the assessment hearing. New notices will be published. New notices will be mailed with a clarification that this is an amendment. It's also given us the ability to, we started realizing afterwards that, this is a relatively, there's over 100 some parcels. We may have could potentially have a lot of people in the audience, and so we were suggesting that this gives us an opportunity to notify people that they can sign in to a virtual meeting as well. So we already have the notices set up to include a virtual login for folks in case somebody isn't comfortable coming here in person. So hopefully that makes some sense. Any questions on, I guess, what's occurred or what we need to do again going forward here?
No.
I'll move to approve the,
Well, we do need to declare a date, and
Yeah.
that is a correction from the
so the
resolution they
18th
have.
isn't the date?
The 18th will not work because of the notification timeline that we need to
Alright.
do. So it can, earliest it could be would be essentially the October 25th date. So, or any time that week would be satisfactory for a special meeting. And it's not uncommon to hold assessment hearings for big projects separately, just because the amount of people that may show up and doesn't tie up your next meeting. Not that that's preferred, but I think, again, that's not uncommon.
What's the date on the next meeting in November, first meeting in November?
So we could do a special meeting on October 25th is what I
Yeah.
think what you were recommending.
Yes, and then that gives, again, a week for us. If there's anything that comes up that needs to get acted on, we can bring it back to council on the November 1st meeting, so.
Does that work for everybody's calendar?
25th does for me, yeah.
Okay. For you, Rick?
Yep.
Okay. Then, do we need a motion then to move that? I would imagine so.
So moved.
We could probably just make a motion to amend the proposed assessment, so the notice of hearing,
Okay,
just as amended.
okay.
Yeah, and that resolution in the minutes will reflect that November, or October 25th date.
Are we staying with 6 o'clock or?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
So this is the amended resolution that we have in front of us.
It's amended other than the date is not, date of the hearing is not correct in that. So it'll be
Okay.
reflected obviously in the minutes that you're changing the date to the October 25th.
And then the one that's signed will then have that amendment made.
Yeah, and all the hearing notices that will be mailed and published will reflect that October 25th date as well.
Okay. That's what confused me. I saw amended here, so.
Yeah,
So who wants to make that motion? I think-
Motion was made.
Yep, Rick made it. Is there a second one? Second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
and sorry for any confusion there.
All right, so we have a couple, items on the agenda next. The first one is election integrity.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
We were contacted by Ann Cruz, and she requested that they be moved to later in the meeting if the council would allow it, only because they were unable to make this time. And so if they could speak later in the meeting, that's what they're requesting. It'd be up to the council as to whether they want to allow it, since it would be outside of the time allotted for.
Well, I think they were scheduled, they knew the time, and, we have a special meeting afterwards, so.
And that is your choice, if that's
Yeah,
how.
in my opinion, if they wanna speak, they can come when they're scheduled to, and, more than happy to hear them, but. Okay, then next we have the American Legion. Presentation of a resolution to the New Prague Police Department.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Linda Dvorak, and I'm the commander of American Legion Post 45 here in New Prague. The past couple years have been tough for our law enforcement agencies, not only in Minnesota, but throughout the country. And back in July at our our department convention in Redwood Falls, we unanimously voted and passed a resolution to support our law enforcement agencies, and I would like to take a minute to just read that resolution. The American Legion Department of Minnesota supports our law enforcement agencies in the state of Minnesota. We support police departments, sheriff offices, Minnesota State Patrol, Department of Natural Resources, Minnesota Department of Corrections, Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, and other law enforcement agencies. Whereas the American Legion and the Department of Minnesota wholeheartedly stands by the second clause of our preamble that states, to maintain law and order, And whereas the Department of Minnesota, its districts and posts annually seek out law enforcement officers who go above and beyond the call of duty to honor at its various conventions and gatherings. And whereas the current political climate in some cities in Minnesota, including Minneapolis and St. Paul, is calling for law enforcement agencies to be defunded or disbanded altogether. And whereas we are a nation of laws, and where there are laws, there must be individuals whose task it is to enforce those laws and bring to justice those persons who would choose to live or act contrary to those laws. Now therefore be it resolved, the American Legion Department of Minnesota reaffirms its support and expresses its gratitude to the law enforcement agencies in the state of Minnesota. And be it further resolved, the Department of Minnesota encourages our districts and posts to recognize and support their local law enforcement agencies. And be it finally resolved, this resolution be forwarded to the American Legion Department of Minnesota Convention floor in session 15 to 17 July for adoption. And upon adoption, this resolution be distributed to every post in the department by the department staff. Passed at Department of Minnesota Convention 16 July, signed and attested, Mike Muxa, Department Adjutant. So at this time, I would like my fellow American Legion members and Chief of Police, Jim Grice, to come forward, and I would like to present this framed copy of the resolution for him to display in the office, so that they know that the American Legion has their back.
But that's what the videographer wanted.
Couple on this side. Perfect.
Oh, I see.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roland. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
as the oldest guy in the room, there's something I'd like to say.
okay.
Number one, I want to thank you, Chief, for the job that you guys did for our grandson's funeral. That was the most impressive thing that I've ever seen in my life. There must have been 150 police cars around and the procession and so on, and there was someone at every intersection and so. And we know what you guys go through. I mean, I had heard stories from him about what you guys put up with, and then you're supposed to go to bed. And the comment that was made by General Nash, I think you all know him. He said to me, he said, you know, George, in all honesty, our police now are much worse off than anyone that we had in Afghanistan. My grandson's been there twice. My son was over there in Desert Shield and Desert Storm. And he said, you guys go to bed every night with something that you put up with. Where the soldiers there, at times, yes, but not every day. So thanks to you guys, and I think we have to promote what you people live with. And if it weren't for you, where in the hell would we be? So God bless, and thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you, George. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your service to our country.
I'm glad you're the mayor.
Thank you. I'll collect on Saturday. All right. The next item on the agenda is the public hearings. The first one is for the tobacco-free parks policy. And at this time, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to the tobacco-free parks policy?
Mitch, is there anybody online?
What?
Maybe ask if anybody online would like to.
Is there anybody online that wants to speak? Oh, hello. We can't hear you. Not, still can't hear you.
Any luck?
There,
There.
Yeah.
okay.
Wonderful. I apologize about that.
No.
My name is Emily Anderson, and I would like to speak on this topic if you would allow it.
Sure.
Okay. Is there a time limit, Mayor?
No longer than 5 minutes.
We get an
I
address.
will be.
Okay.
I'll be well short.
And
of
what
that,
we
I
need
promise.
is your name and address.
My name is Emily Anderson, and I live at 4136 Columbus in Minneapolis, but I'm here today in my role as Director of Policy at the Association for Non-Smokers Minnesota. We are a nonprofit dedicated to reducing the human and economic impacts tobacco has on our state. And I'm here tonight to express my strong support for a comprehensive tobacco-free policy for all new Prague parks. I've actually advocated for policies like this that make outdoor areas such as parks, college campuses, and hospital grounds tobacco-free for more than a decade. And I can tell you two things from my experience. People support these policies, and number two, they work. They work to reduce tobacco litter, which is still the most littered item in the world, leaching harmful chemicals into our soil and waterway. The advent of electronic cigarettes has only exacerbated the environmental impact of tobacco, with a whole slew of plastics and heavy metals entering our waterways and soil from these discarded products. These policies also work to protect children, spectators, runners, and bikers from the harms of secondhand smoke. In fact, did you know that there is no safe level of exposure to secondhand smoke, even when you're outside? Finally, tobacco-free parks policies work to help our young people never pick up that deadly habit in the first place. People always ask me what the best way to quit is, and my answer is never to start in the first place. Policies like this help change social norms around tobacco use and help our young people stay tobacco-free. There are nearly 180 communities in Minnesota that have addressed tobacco use in their parks, including Scott County Public Parks and the city of Savage right here in your own area. It is vital to note that these types of policies do not prevent smokers from using your park system. Everyone is still welcome in the parks. It's the activity of tobacco use that is not allowed. And this, I strongly believe, will make the parks healthier and more accessible for all. I urge you to vote yes on this policy, and our organization would actually be happy to help with implementation if you so choose to do that, including free metal signage, which we've supplied to many other communities across the state. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Okay, is there any questions from the council?
No, I got a statement.
Go
Are
ahead.
we, everybody said if you smoke outside, that's fine, don't worry about it. Now you're gonna start changing, whether you can, do it in the park, are you gonna, next it'll be the sidewalks, if you're smoking outside, it's not gonna hurt anybody, except the person that's smoking. That's, to be making up laws that can't be enforced, you're just creating division in the city. I don't agree with this.
Okay. Any other comments? What did the park board think, Maggie?
The park board was unanimous.
They were.
Yes, they were. We had a lot of discussion about ordinance versus policy. We had a lot of discussion about certain zones within the park, allowing smoking in some and non-smoking in others. And it became, it would become difficult to administer, even with signage. So it was unanimously voted that there would be no smoking in any of the parks. And for many of the reasons that Emily gave this evening of, any amount of secondhand smoke is dangerous. Children don't need to see adults smoking. I know that Jim, the park supervisor, has commented that there is a lot of litter, especially after ball games, that they have to deal with. And so it just made sense for us, for our public parks to be smoke-free.
Okay. Are there any other comments online or from the audience? Any other comments online or from the audience?
Mr. Mayor, did you wish
Yes.
to hear any updates from staff on this issue?
Yes, go ahead.
Did you want to keep the hearing open or?
Well, that's what I was getting at. I was gonna close the hearing and because we don't need to have the hearing open for staff, correct? So, I would take a motion to close the public hearing and,
So
open the
moved.
regular meeting.
So moved.
Maggie made the motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
And Sean made the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. So, go ahead.
All right, so we had introduced this topic at the September 7th meeting. Since that time, at the recommendation and request of the council, we did notify all of the local ball team groups, including, excuse me, but not limited to the Orioles, Newburgh Community Education, men's and women's softball leagues, Newburgh Youth Baseball, and the Legion and Town and Country teams. So pretty much had a full run on everybody for that. We also had information on the website, social media, and anywhere else we could think of getting the information out so that they could read the policy and provide comment at tonight's public hearing. And as you see in the packet, we had the one letter from the Association of Non-Smokers Minnesota, and as well as the speaker here tonight, and that was really the only public comment we did receive. The only other update I wanted to give is that in addition to Scott County Parks and the city of Savage, the city of Shakopee did actually pass an ordinance, not just a policy, but an ordinance for their parks to be tobacco-free on, back in July of 2020. So that was another update of another city that actually went a little further than the policy and had an ordinance put into place. Other than that, I would still recommend approval of the policy as written. I do want to note we did clarify and remove the New Prague Golf Course from this, as it is not a generally public accessible facility. And then some of the other cities in the area also did not prevent smoking in vehicles within park areas, so we made that exception as well.
That is just going way too far, Ken. That is way too far. I mean, what are we gonna become, a society where we're gonna, what about people that are overweight? Obesity kills more people than smoking. Are we gonna make them, not let them eat in public? I mean, now you're gonna tell people they can't smoke in their car in the park?
No.
You
No,
can
no.
step in the golf
No,
course.
No, we're saying they
that's-
can smoke in
They
the.
can smoke in the car.
None of this should be allowed. I mean, so you're gonna tell the people that are in the golf course, they can smoke. The people in the park can't. So if the people go over to the golf course and have their cigarette there, what is the difference? Whatever.
Point taken. Are you done? Or do you got?
Yeah, that
more?
was all I had.
Okay.
Well, I spoke to several ball players, many of whom use tobacco, not smoking, but chewing tobacco. And they were against it. And a few people pointed out to me that it is a legal item. And for those over 21. And that to go out of our way to regulate an legal item in a public park that their tax dollars are paying for, and they utilize probably more often than most people in the city, that the overwhelming majority of them that I talked to were against this policy.
Okay.
But yet we don't allow drinking in our parks, which is perfectly legal if you're of age. So
We don't, I didn't hear.
I don't think we allow alcohol in our parks. For those,
At the ball fields, they do.
they have to have a license to sell
I'm
the
not
beer.
sure, Ken, what is the,
They-
No, I believe you can
there's plenty of people that
you can
bring
consume it. Yeah, you can consume it.
Okay,
at the ball fields, I'm not sure.
At-
outside the
okay,
parks.
yeah, I wasn't sure about that.
Yeah, I think the playgrounds are
playgrounds, yeah.
an area where they're not allowed.
Yeah, they-
And I think that's the main concern here is you have families and children, and that exposure is not healthy. Chewing tobacco is a little different, but
Why?
if,
It's still
if-
tobacco. It's just.
Just let me.
let me finish, please. So I understand chewing tobacco, but then that also creates, if they're spitting it on the ground instead of in a cup, that sort of thing. So it still is, not something that many people want to be around. But I think overall, it's the vaping and the regular cigarettes that pose quite a greater risk to individuals. And not to mention the litter. And potential fire hazard too, if they're dropping their cigarettes in a garbage can or dry grass or something, so. I have not been approached by anyone publicly about it,
I have.
one way or the other. Well, and I understand, Rick, that there is a bias because you are a smoker.
You're a non-smoker, so there's
That's
a bias
right.
there.
Of course
And
there is.
everybody's got rights. You
That's
got
right.
rights, I got rights, and if I'm outside, I'm gonna smoke. And, you know, you're gonna have somebody go up and tell somebody, hey, you gotta put that cigarette out, you're in the park. And the guy says, I don't wanna put it out. You're just starting division in the city. You're gonna start fights between people, and that ain't right. That ain't right that a city like this size is gonna go micromanage their people. That's just, it's not copacetic. It's not very conservative, I know that.
Okay. Any other comments? Otherwise, I would take a motion to approve this tobacco-free parks policy.
So moved.
There's been a motion. Is there a second? Is there a second? I'll second it to get to the vote, So with that, any other discussion? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Aye. Motion fails.
Was it a tie, Mayor?
No, I voted against it.
Against it, okay.
Yes,
I
yes.
didn't hear you, thank you.
That's okay. Thanks for getting the clarification. Okay, the next item is to vacate the public drainage and utility easement. Is that
And
one of number 2?
this would be the second public hearing, and if I
Oh.
could, Mayor, if I could do a quick
Yes.
introduction on the item before you open the public hearing?
Please?
All right, thank you. Mitch, I'm gonna pop up my computer here in 1 second. All right. Sorry about that technical issue there. All right, so we have a public hearing tonight scheduled for the adoption or consideration of adoption for a partial vacation of a drainage and utility easement. This relates to the property at 511 Cottonwood Lane. Get this to pan up here. If you recall, this is an item we've talked about over the past few months relating to a property line adjustment and land swap that was approved per a land swap agreement with the council about a month ago. And at the September 20th meeting, we called for the public hearing tonight for the drainage and utility easement vacation public hearing. So the area we're looking to vacate is the hatched easement area that you see on the map here. Myself and Public Works Director Matt Rinda had bid out on the property, met with the property owners to determine a good property line exchange would be, and then additionally, this area in the hatched, again, is what we would propose to be vacated. It is basically extraneous easement that we do not need to hold on to maintain either the ditch along the east side of the property or the pond and or ditch drainage area on the north side of the property. So with that, we did notify the neighboring property owners and the utility companies of the proposed vacation request, and as of tonight's meeting, I did not have any public comments received from any of those entities. And with that, I will turn it back to the council if you'd like to consider opening the public hearing.
Sure. I'll open the public hearing on, it's the 511 Cottonwood Lane, correct?
511 Cottonwood Lane,
Okay.
yes.
Drainage and utility easement vacation, partial vacation. Open the public hearing in person and online. Do we have anybody that's online? Okay. Nobody online? I'll ask a second time if anybody wants to speak to this. Anybody want to speak to this for the third time? Hearing no affirmatives, I would take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. So with that, I would take a motion to adopt ordinance number 324.
So moved.
Been a motion by, Rick, seconded by Sean. Any other discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the truck ordinance. Who wants to speak to that?
I will, Honorable Mayor. Honorable Mayor and City Council, tonight before you, we have a amendment to Chapter 72 of the City Code relating to parking regulations and specifically for semi-truck parking in the amendment. We had talked about this once at a council meeting during the summer, and then just our last, about a month ago, we brought it up again regarding the new facility that opened up for private parking for semis. In the previous two discussions, the direction from the council was to make it unnecessary for semis to park on our streets, with the exception of actively loading and unloading. So with that, staff has moved forward and amended 72.03, limiting semi-parking, in which that would now read, no person shall park a semi-tractor or trailer on any public roadway in the city of, unless it is actively being loaded or unloaded. I think that language would suffice in keeping anybody from overnight parking or parking for extended periods of time.
Okay,
And I have had several comments myself, people asking about it, and, since they have that new facility, I think it's a great idea. I mean, park them over there.
you know, well, I hate going to Quick Trip in the morning along First, cause you gotta go past about 5 of them.
Yep.
And, you know, and it isn't bad until you meet a car and they feel that they should be on your side of the road, you know, and then there you're stuck, and it's like, really? So, I think it's,
Where's the cop when you need him?
yeah, where's the cop? So,
Always a phone call away.
so I support this ordinance, but, any other comments?
No, I agree as well. I know that, right by Ace Hardware,
Yeah.
there's parking there as well. And if you're coming out of the parking lot, it does create a bit of a hazard because you can't see around those vehicles very easily.
Correct.
Especially if you're making a left out of the parking lot. So I like the idea of no street parking.
So then what do we need here? This is a little different,
This is our first reading tonight. You guys would accept it as our first reading.
okay, so that's what we have to, okay.
And then it'll be posted, as Ken put in his memo so lovely.
We will post on the website in our hallway, and we have to have that posted for 10 days before you can have a second reading and adoption.
Okay,
So I guess one thing I would recommend, is actually motioning just to approve on first reading. That way we'll have a formal action to move us to the second reading. instead of
Okay.
Killing it right here.
okay. So I would take a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 325.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Maggie made the motion, seconded by Sean. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Resolutions. The first one is maintenance for mowing and property maintenance charges.
Yes, I can give you some background information on that. So as we do every year, between September 15th and the next September 14th, we have a time period where we can take our unpaid mowing, property maintenance, and other bills that we have throughout the city, and we notify the property owners prior to, or actually get the notices out by the 15th of September, and then we have until October 15th to certify those with the county for unpaid property maintenance charges. So as we do every year, we actually only had one property that we had to take to that point for the property maintenance. And that totaled to just under $1,500 for those property maintenances. So only one property this year. Typically, we have a few more than that, but we did have over 50 letters that were sent out for violations relating to anything from refuse to lawn grass, et cetera. So a pretty good compliance rate overall, just this one that did not get taken care of. So first resolution is really just certifying the unpaid service charges for that one property in the amount of $1,448.49. So that's
Can you-
resolution number one.
Can you give me a general area where that's at, intersection?
I can give you a general location. It'd actually be pretty close to your house, Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
over near Northside Park. On, I
Yes,
forget, Sunrise or Sunset.
yep, gotcha.
Yep.
Thank you.
And we've been mowing that one for, I think, at least 8 years now. And the property owner, for whatever reason, has not been foreclosed on. I believe it was a US government loan that they have. Very odd circumstance, and the US government is paying the taxes on that property. They just don't maintain it. So we continue to mow, they continue to pay this every year, and
Lucrative.
we
Is the
continue-
is the property vacant?
It is vacant, it's been vacant for,
No
I
kidding.
think, close to 10 years now.
Holy,
Wow, interesting.
Yep.
Okay. So, with that explanation, who would like to offer resolution 02?
so moved.
Okay, Rick, is there a second?
Second.
Maggie is the second. Any other discussion on that property? Otherwise, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. All right, let's go to the next item.
I should really let Bruce take this one, but.
Yep,
I'll take it, it's okay. As we do it with the mowing and property maintenance charges, we also have the same authority to assess for unpaid municipal utility bills. Specifically for property owners, we're able to assess everything, but on rental properties, we don't do the electric. So this year, we actually were down quite a bit from that big number back in 2020, obviously with COVID and everything. So we had a little over $4,200 in unpaid municipal utility bills, and it does continue to drop off till we certify here on October 15th. So they still technically can pay till we turn that into the county. But at the time of putting this resolution together, it was $4,289.45. And we'd look to get those certified that aren't paid by the 15th of October as well, so.
How many of them are rental units, do you know?
If you break it down, I don't know that we break it down.
Yeah, we don't break it down individually, Rick, but a fairly good share of them are rental units.
So it's landlords again.
Yeah, and it, just for your knowledge, we can only assess the water, garbage, or other sanitary. The electric services, it was a decision of the council and the commission quite a few years ago not to assess rental properties for delinquent electricity bills. So that is borne by the customers of New Prague, so. Each city kind of does it different.
Mm-hmm. It'd be interesting to see those numbers, you know, cause I take it this is sewer and water and stuff. I'd like to
Yeah.
see, I don't know, do you put that
Fairly
in?
substantial.
Yes,
And it varies every year, but yeah.
It'd be nice if it was, to know if it was the same property owner, you know, if he's he got all these rental properties and just decided he doesn't wanna pay the bills.
Some landlords are very good at working with the utilities to make sure that their tenants are paid up and make themselves a third party to the billing. And others do not. And those are the ones we struggle with. They lobbied to obviously not bear that burden of their tenants, you know, so that's the way it is here in the Prague.
Wasn't there a state statute though that we had to follow or
Yeah, I
use as
thought there was.
as a guideline?
There's guidelines, but as a municipality, we would maybe have to ask Scott, but I'm pretty sure we have the ability by ordinance to have it up however the council decides.
Well,
And
I'd like to reapproach that if we could, Bruce. I'd like to get a total from you and then maybe have another discussion.
Yeah.
I agree.
Because one question now pops up, you know, back in the day, there was a big chunk of electricity in the city that wasn't ours. Now it is.
That's right.
And, so, yeah, I would be willing to do that also. We might not make
I know
it,
the commission battles with that every year, you know, in regards to, we have to write it off as bad debt.
mm-hmm. We probably aren't gonna be able to get it done for this year, but, so,
Yeah, I definitely think it's worth taking a look at again, yeah.
so. All right, I would, if there's no other discussion, I would take a motion to approve this next resolution.
So moved.
Sean made the
Second.
motion and Rick seconded it. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, general business, improved crosswalks on First Street Southeast, Third Street Southeast, and 10th Avenue.
This I'll be glad to do, you guys.
All right, so I'm gonna give you a little background. Mitch, if you're able to pull my computer up again. All right, so this is one dating back to July 19th. We had a few residents of Prague Village and some staff from Prague Village actually attend the council meeting at that time, discussing their request for an improved crosswalk at First Street Southeast and 10th Avenue Southeast for safety reasons. And this was right before Hy-Vee was gonna open, and kind of denoted in red the crossing area where they were requesting that improved crossing to be located. So since that meeting on the July 19th, it actually took a little longer than we were hoping to get some traffic counts done on 10th Avenue. Basically, the main reason our radar recorder went down for a few-week time period, so got that replaced, and we did the counts and got those wrapped up on the 13th of September. And then we met with Chris Cavett and their traffic engineer from SCH, Heather Keenitz, and Public Works Director Rinda and I discussed the traffic counts and the findings that we had from those studies with their professional expertise in the area of all things traffic. And we talked about not only this intersection at First Street Southeast and 10th, but also the next intersection to the south at 3rd and 10th Avenue. And I'll explain why we did that in a second here. So if you remember back at that meeting, Prague Village had, they indicated about 15 residents that they felt were able-bodied enough to make the crossing, and actually, you know, how often they would do that, we're not sure, but able-bodied enough to actually walk over to Hy-Vee and or McDonald's to do shopping. And we took that information with the traffic data that we had taken for 10th Avenue after Hy-Vee had opened. We wanted to wait for the initial die-down of the traffic there from their their grand opening time period. And what we found is that, number one, the detour on 10th Avenue for the Trunk Highway 19 Main Street reconstruction project has almost tripled the traffic on 10th Avenue, so kind of have that going on. Typically, we were, you know, about 2,500 vehicles a day. We were pushing 6,500 vehicles a day plus on 10th Avenue, which is not the normal traffic pattern. Remains to be seen after the highway reopens exactly how much traffic may continue to take this as a bypass rather than go through downtown, but I imagine it's going to change back. Nevertheless, pretty substantial traffic increase there. Took a look at speeds of vehicles. They're within the realm of what we expect on a 35 mile per hour road. The 85th percentile speed was just under 35, which is exactly where MnDOT uses their protocol for establishing speed limits on roadways. So right in line with the speed limit that we had. We don't have excessive speeding going on at the First Street intersection here. So taking a look at that, the other things we talked about with the engineers was, would it be reasonable to think that residents or any other user could cross by going up the short block to Main Street at a controlled intersection with the light and obviously full signalization and the crosswalk buttons there? And really, nobody will do that, you know, even if it's a short block away. Just general behavior, and that's what the traffic engineers indicated, that no, people would not generally do that in order to cross directly to the west or east, depending on which way they're going. So that was kind of the first thing that we looked at. We also took a count just south of Third Street to see what kind of traffic numbers we had there, and actually the numbers there were lower than this segment between Third and Main for obvious reasons. We have a number of other neighborhood traffic from the Praha Village townhomes, or the Praha Villas, I should say, as opposed to Praha Village. These D.R. Horton townhomes heading north, as well as all the other detour traffic. And speeds were actually a little bit higher than 35 on that stretch, but not significantly. So we didn't have any major difference there, but we did have noted and this is without actually taking pedestrian counts, mind you, that a pretty heavy number of pedestrians cross over Third at this area, head over to Memorial Park, the golf course, a number of other amenities, even to get downtown walking, take a different route other than on Main Street. So all that information considered, SEH and their traffic engineering staff recommended a couple of different things. So first off, the intersection that we initially started talking about at First and 10th, they recommend enhanced signage, and basically we do have some signage here already. I'll put up the intersection here for you. You can see those crosswalk signs on that leg at the south portion of that intersection, but basically adding some advanced signage to that intersection to note, hey, there's a crossing coming up. And then in addition to that, putting in what they call continental striping, or what people more commonly call zebra striping. That can also be the angled striped, not just the straight
Lines.
striping there. But having the lines, that brings greater attention to it. So that was their number one recommendation to be done at that intersection. They also felt that a rapid flashing beacon, which you see in this picture, should also be added at some point. The thing with the rapid flashing beacon systems is they're not cheap. Public Works Director Rinda did get a quote for this system at this crossing, and it would be $9,000. That would include both sides of the intersection, obviously, and then it has the signs, it has the flashing lights. This one we would, I believe it was gonna be hardwired, not solar, because we have power right there, if I'm remembering correctly. And so that's really the main thing holding us up at this point, is the cost for that. But we are looking with Chris Cavett into a safety improvement grant from MnDOT for that system, so we'll see if we can get that in. But the same treatment minus the rapid flashing beacons is what they also recommended to do at Third Street due to the traffic volumes and the number of people also cross down there, albeit much more crossing traffic there with more able-bodied people. So what staff is recommending is to basically put in the increased signage, advanced warning signs with these, call it the high-vis coloring, and the continental or zebra striping at both of the intersections. The only cost to that would be $405, which can be covered by the street department budget, and their staff can have those installed and painted within the next 2 weeks. And after that, we would continue to look for funding for that rapid flashing beacon system at First Street. But even getting this interim solution at First done, we feel that would be a marked improvement for that intersection, and hopefully we can get the beacons in there sooner than later, but funding was the issue at this point. Obviously not in our 2021 budget at this point, so.
I'm glad you looked at it that way too, because you know, I was standing right on this corner. I got a friend that just moved into Prague. And I was sitting right on this corner and I was watching, there's a little bit of an incline. So you can't see them cars, so it's like you're in the middle of the road and all of a sudden, whoa, there you are. You know, so I'm glad to see you did that for Third too, so thank you.
Yeah, the one at Third is almost more problematic from a visibility standpoint. Like you say, they kind of sneak up on you when they're coming around
You got
that
that corner right there.
So that's where advanced warning sign will also be located pretty close to that corner as you're coming into it, that, you know, pedestrian crossing ahead. Should give people a little better, forewarning that intersection's coming up. But
Yeah, good deal.
nothing's foolproof, and we still
No.
obviously recommend, even with the rapid flashing beacon, you still have to be very aware of where you're going, what's going on with the rapid flashing beacon. It would be activated by push button, if we get those, but you can't just jump into traffic in either scenario.
That's right.
On the action, do you want the amount put in there, or you wanna wait until you can get an, answer on the beacon?
No, we will continue to look for funding for the beacon at this point. We would recommend kind of as an interim solution to get the painting and signs in at that $405, and that can be covered within the 2021 street department budget.
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion to start out with the cheaper side, the $405, option. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and seconded. Any other, questions on that discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
All right,
Aye.
thank you, Ken.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
I have a question. So, I don't know if I can remember it. That's the problem with getting old. Should have wrote it down. Forget it, I can't remember, so.
Okay.
We'll just move on. New Prague Fire Relief Pension Plan.
All right, well, we are here today to hopefully start the conversations about a possible fire pension increase. We have gotten our paperwork back from our audit company, and it's been filed with the state, and our pension fund is sitting at a point where it could fund a pension fund increase. So we thought we'd come today to start those conversations. Historically, how we've done it in the past is we've had members from the council, the city administrator, the rural fire board, and then the fire department would have a special private meeting or a meeting and come up with a number that all parties are comfortable with, approve it at that meeting, and take it back to their respected boards for approval. So I guess we're here today just to see how would you guys like to proceed with those conversations, I guess.
Well, as a guy that was on that board,
Yep.
I thought it was great just
they
to get the
worked well.
feedback, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just as an initial start and then bring back any recommendations to the council.
Right.
I'd be happy to do it again with you, Mr. Mayor.
Was the mayor?
It was
also on
Chuck.
it?
It was Chuck and it was Sean and it was
Okay.
Mike, the city
Okay.
administrator. And then there was, I think, 3 or 4 members of the rural fire board.
Right.
And then our relief pension board was there as well.
It sounds like a plan, cause in the old days, we used to hash it out at a open council meeting, I remember.
Right.
And that wasn't always the best.
Yeah, and I think that what came about after that was it just wasn't real productive, correct?
Correct.
And so then that's why they started doing it this way. And I can get a lot more information for the rest of the council as well from that meeting. We'll have
Well,
packets and stuff that we
What
can.
were you thinking, like dates?
Well, for the rural fire board, they said Wednesdays at like 6 o'clock works well for them. I'm thinking an hour
Okay.
would work. I don't know, does that work for?
Well, the next 2 Wednesdays are full for me, so it'd probably be towards the end of the month.
Sure.
If that,
I mean, we can shoot for like that third Wednesday at 6 o'clock at the fire station.
I don't know what you have,
Yeah, that one I might not be able to,
cause you sit on a couple.
the 20th and the 27th are both bad Wednesdays for me, but, you know, maybe if I sit out this one and Maggie or Rick wants to be the council rep, or Bruce, you know, that's fine too. I don't,
Well, let's figure out something.
Let's figure out something, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the
We'll just
20th might be the better one for me then.
Steve, do you need any action tonight at all?
No, just
consensus.
wanted a little direction on how you guys wanted to move forward with it.
I think that would be good.
So we'll kind of
And I would still go for you two being on it, and then if you can't make it, I'll go fill in, or Maggie can go fill in.
That's fine too, sure.
shoot for the 20th at 6 o'clock? Okay. And does that work for you? Okay. And I will send something out to the rural fire board, and I'll probably just reply back with an email on.
And I'm happy to sit in, Sean or Mary, if you're
Yep.
unable to.
I really gotta check my calendars, I know, so don't be
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah, and hopefully we can answer any questions and come out of the meeting pretty productively, so. Any
Perfect.
questions for me?
No,
All right,
Thank you for your service, Steve.
thank you.
okay, the next item on the agenda is it the special meeting then? I'm confused a little bit by how this is.
Yes, so the next item on the agenda, I just had two special meetings that I wanna set up. They could be set up on the same evening if you guys want, they may be easiest, so we don't have to keep coming to meetings over and over again. The first one is a meeting that I can sit down with you guys and we can discuss kind of where the police union contract is right now and what they're proposing. And the second meeting would be just to kind of see if we can put a little bit tighter bow on the general fund, now that we've got a preliminary levy set. I guess as a recommendation, I would recommend, not this week, but starting, if you guys could meet sometime next week on the week of the 11th, that would be helpful for staff. But after that too, may also be available.
I'm on vacation the week of the 11th.
And
I
when's,
could be available.
when's Bruce coming back? I can't remember. He's gone 2 weeks.
2.5 weeks, he said, so,
I feel like he's supposed to be back sometime next week.
okay.
Not entirely sure when next week. So I guess for you guys, my thought is, I'm hoping that we can kind of get the general fund wrapped up most of the way, if not all the way, with this next meeting. And then we can take a meeting where we can then discuss all the enterprise funds, hopefully in one night, so that way we don't have to keep coming back over and
Yeah.
over again.
Is October 25th too late in the month, since we already have a special meeting, a public hearing? Well, that one might go longer though, because of the assessments.
Yeah, you were thinking the 25th, meaning,
Yeah,
yeah, going on.
might not be the best evening. I'm open to another day of the week other than Wednesday.
Because the police contract, that would be a closed meeting, right?
Correct,
The budget would be an open meeting.
correct. Yeah, I would say if we wanted to do them, maybe set a half hour, 45 minutes, hour, however long you guys feel like is comfortable, for the closed meeting, and then we just open up the budget meeting basically after that.
Oh, okay, that's what you were thinking, okay.
Or we could do it the other way around too.
It might make more sense to do it the other way, just in case we have someone show up for the budget discussions,
True.
and then move into a closed.
I guess if you were looking at the week of the 25th, I know we have a golf board, there's a golf board on Tuesday, and there's planning commission on Wednesday. There's no city meetings that Thursday, but I guess I don't know what your guys' contract, or
Well,
calendars look like.
The 27th, I'm out of town for business, but, I could miss the golf board meeting on the 26th. I'm sure they could hold it without me. So, matter of fact, we were gonna do, let me just look here. We were gonna, all of us try to get together to work, finalize the golf board budget on the 19th. So, there really won't be much on that Tuesday to discuss if we already have it done
Correct.
the week before. So, if that Tuesday works, or the Monday,
Tuesday, the 26th?
Or just follow Maggie's, recommendation with Monday after the assessment hearing. I don't remember those ever being real contentious, but this,
Yeah, I mean, with this one being a little bit larger one, I guess you never really know. You have more people involved. I guess my experience, yeah, with assessment meetings, if people show up, usually they're there just to listen.
yeah,
But
And that's one we're gonna do on the 25th, right?
right.
Right, yep.
Thinking if we could,
Piggyback the, closed meeting on that.
I guess we could try it, and if for some reason it gets like massive long, that first part, we just could,
but yeah, basically table
Table
the
it.
next
Yeah.
meeting.
Yep,
you know,
okay.
I'd be open to that too.
So we're just gonna add that to the 25th.
So, yeah, would you like?
25th,
Yep, both the budget and the police union contract meeting
Okay.
on the
Yeah.
25th?
Yep.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, budget. Okay, we're down to miscellaneous.
Yes, I just wanted to say, so the next item in your packet, I think was more of an FYI for council. We did receive, the petition that is in your packet, basically asking if there's anything the city council can do to help get a new post office in New Prague. This group of people would be very appreciative. So I thought I'd add that to your packet so that you were aware of it. Generally, the post office obviously is a federal entity. I don't know how much say municipalities have, but because you all were included in the letter, I figured I'd add it to your packet.
Do they lease that building from us, or what do they do? I mean, who owns that building?
They lease it from a corporation based out of Massachusetts. And, there's a group that's very vocal about getting a new post office. And the way I understand it, they've gone up as far as this coordinator in the Northland District Post Office. Making their complaints known. Right now, they're in the process of cleaning it. And they're gonna do asbestos abatement, which basically means they're going to vacuum it and paint the floor. It's not really, yeah, basically, it's getting to be small for the community and just the location. It's been there forever and ever and ever and ever. And, there's a vocal group. I told the vocal group I'd be willing to write letters in support to both senators, our Congress people, Angie Craig, and,
Klobuchar.
no, who's on the other line?
Hagedorn.
Hagedorn.
Ignore, yeah.
And, maybe get some momentum there. I know that they get a little excited because then it trickles downhill, and so maybe it'll help, who knows? I just wanna know what their process is for building or looking at new rental property or whatever.
Does our postmaster know?
Yes, she does.
Okay. I meant about the petition, but does she have any inside knowledge of what it would take?
She cannot speak
Okay,
to us,
Okay.
to anybody about it,
okay.
because it's a no-no apparently, so
It's federal.
she can't.
I don't know, what can we do on that? We can't really do anything. Can't you, I think we also would support a letter,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, and that's what I plan on doing. That's about all I can do right now too, is write a letter, but if, you know, a lot of these infrastructure, bills are coming out and it could be included in there. But I know that other towns have gotten post offices after the moratorium was put on back in 2002 or whatever it was that time. So, I told them I'd do what I could do, and I didn't make any promises, and they were just thankful for that, so. But just a
whole lot of names on here that I wouldn't want angry at me, so,
Yeah. I seen that.
And even if you look at this one petition, they all got the same address.
Yeah. I see your name on there too.
Yep, I got
Sign
corralled to sign, so.
I would've signed it too, though. I mean,
Yeah,
they
that-
really do need it. you know,
They set this up at, Checkout New Prague.
Don't we own that lot right next to, right behind City Club and, Boutique there?
There's,
Where there's gardens now, but that was
Yeah.
set aside at one point for a post office.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
And I don't know who owns that land, but then I think
City owns that property.
city owns that
the city
property.
does, okay.
Yeah.
And wasn't that for the post office?
Yeah, because the original one, when this all started, we were gonna get one and it was gonna be sited out by where I live, kinda on that. And then we kinda said we want one closer to downtown and they were in discussions and then the postal service came with the moratorium and that was the end of it. So,
You're gonna have a whole bunch of people in Village Square that aren't gonna be happy about losing their garden though, if that's where it.
well, and then there's other properties that they
Yeah, there's
could,
something that we could work out with them. Yeah, write a letter in support and we'll all sign it and
Well,
go from there.
and we own the lot across the street,
Mm-hmm.
behind the bowling alley.
mm-hmm,
We have plenty of land for community gardens.
Yeah, okay.
so. Anything else there, City Administrator Tetzloff?
Yes, I originally had a memo that was FYI, but it became a little more here this afternoon. So the next memo in your packet was informing you that the city was told about their portion of the Federal Coronavirus Response Relief Support Appropriations Act, really long name. Basically, we are getting $14,022. We were notified of this on September 24th, and we had until September 30th to inform them of how we were going to use it. So the eligible uses we were told is we could use it for municipal state aid streets maintenance, city road maintenance, construction of municipal state aid streets, city road construction, or vehicles, not including cars or pickups. So we kind of put our heads together, how could we use this money that's coming towards us? Director Rinda suggested that maybe we put it towards a UTV for watering and kind of maintaining Main Street now, especially during the winter as the snow set in, just so we can try to get that cleaned off. And we did decide that that would be a good purpose. I don't know if that locked us in or not, since it's after the 30th now, where we informed them we wanted to do something different, they would allow us to. But to that end, Matt did kind of start looking into what a UTV would cost, knowing that the last one that we bought was about $12,000. And he was able to get some quotes, and I'll pass those out to you because that's kind of where this became slightly more if we want to go this direction. So currently we have a Kubota, which is on the back side with no yellow on it. And outfitted as we would go now, minus the snow equipment, would be $12,990. And that, with the snow equipment, it takes it up to about $20,000, and we felt, well, if we're gonna get the snow equipment, that might be an item we actually have to budget for. But he also quoted out a Bobcat with the same equipment, would actually come out to be about $30,000. If we were to get just the very base, which is what he highlighted in the yellow, that would include almost no equipment at all on it. You would have just the base vehicle, would be $13,600. So looking at the Kubota, the reason why this became an action item tonight or possible action item is the dealer has one in stock that they're willing to put our name on it if we want it. If we don't go with it, the next one they're being told would not be available until mid-2023. So a ways out. So I guess tonight I'm just coming forward if you would approve of using the money that is being sent to us for this Corona Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act to be able to put our name on this Kubota for a price of $12,990, which would stay under the cap of the money that's actually coming towards us. Any questions? I know I kind of
Do you
threw a
want
lot out
action
there.
on it?
So then you would add snow equipment to it after the fact?
Yes.
As we could?
Yes, so as we could, we'd probably look to budget, for it, whether for next year or the year after. As we were basically able to get snow equipment from it, since it would be another $8,000. And it would be more than the money that we're actually receiving, for this one-time appropriation.
Okay. Any other questions?
Did any other departments come forward with any requests?
They didn't. We talked about it during our all-staff meeting, and everyone seemed to be in kind of an agreement, especially since we were very limited as to what we could use it, really, streets is basically what we could use it on.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm fine with it. I'll make a motion that we approve the, UTV for the street department.
I'll second.
The Kubota one.
The Kubota, yes.
Okay. There's been a motion by Sean, seconded by Maggie. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
The final thing in your packet was just, minutes from the last couple, board and commission meetings for your review. So that is all I have.
Okay. All right. Does the council have anything that?
I don't have anything this evening.
I'll ask.
No.
No? Okay. Okay. Who are you folks?
We are here representing the Seward County residents.
Okay.
About election integrity.
We have a special meeting afterwards, so I made the decision that you're gonna have to reschedule because you weren't here. Okay? I hate to tell you that news, but if you're gonna be on our agenda,
Well, we did get on the agenda and we indicated we have not another meeting.
yep, but we do too. We do too. So, and that meeting's gonna last probably another couple hours, so, just respect,
We weren't told that. We were told we could come at 7 for the other business, so
yeah,
that's,
sorry. Do you wanna be on the next agenda?
we'll have to look at our calendar.
Okay, yeah,
We're doing it week by week.
okay, sounds good, sorry.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, otherwise I would take a motion to adjourn the regular meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second to adjourn the regular meeting is, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right,
Who made that motion?